You already know what it is. It's your boy, Swagness Carlson, back at it again. Went and fucked up a tournament today. Showed up 30 minutes late and killed all the motherfuckers there. Every single one of them. Went 4 0. No, not actually. There was a tournament recently here in my hometown, a Rae Hayes tournament in Chattanooga. It was a 60-minute game, game 65-second delay, and it's 4 rounds. And I went there today, and I wanted to make a video just analyzing the games, going over what moves I thought were really good, which ones I didn't think were that good, and just kind of review what I could have done better. I'm a little bit rusty. I haven't really been playing online a lot. I only go and play chess at my local chess club maybe once every other week. So I haven't been playing a lot of chess. No prep, no puzzles, no nothing. I just kind of fucking showed up and was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna play chess. Um, but there were a couple of interesting moments in pretty much all of these games. I went 2.5 out of 4, but we'll get into that. There's a very interesting tactic in game 2 that I think you'll enjoy. My first game, I was playing against some little girl. I think her name was Aria. She surprised. So whenever I showed up to the tournament today, I made like a conservative effort to not look at my opponent's ratings whenever I was looking at the like the standings and the match off or whatever, like how they have you listed who you're going up against. To my surprise, because she played pretty decently. She played like a kid, but all in all, I think she played pretty decently. And to my surprise, her UFCF rating was only like 118. Definitely played higher than that. But anyways, the game started out E4. Hold on. Why did that not? Okay, there we go. It started out E4. And if you know me, I play Caro-Kann like exclusively whenever someone plays E4 against me. So C6. She plays Knight F3. Not an awful move. You don't face it a lot, but you just go. I play D4. She plays D3, which isn't a great move. The engine says it's fine, but practically, it's not a position that you want to play as white. Because I just take the pawn, she takes back. We trade off queens, and I felt like she lost castling rights. That's a huge deal. I mean, she could try to throw it into an end game and be perfectly fine, but it could be better. I pin the knight to the king. Decent move. She forces me to take it. Now she's got double pawns on the F file. I'm doing pretty decently. Like I said, I didn't check what her rating was before we started the match. At this point in the game, I'm like, okay, I think I'm pretty confident that I'm going to win. But she develops her knight. Perfect. E5, I wanted to take more control of the center. She plays bishop E3. I go bishop C5, targeting the pawn on F2. She plays rook C1, and this is when I start realizing that I'm definitely gonna win this game. Rook C1 probably wasn't the best move. Engine says to defend it with the king, which makes more sense. You're getting your king closer to the center. It's even saying rook b1 is a possibility. Interesting. I guess, yeah, you can get the pawn on, rook g1. It's thinking you can get the pawn on g7. But anyways, I developed my knight to e7. I think on Lee Chess says that's the top move. Whenever I ran it on Stockfish 14 on Skid versus PC, I ran it at a pretty high depth, and it was saying that knight f6 is better here, but in practice, I think knight e7 works best here, and it actually helps me a little bit in the long run, like later in the game. So I developed my knight to e7. She plays bishop e3, and at this point, I'm thinking, okay, I've got full development. I want to launch a king side or queen side attack. Because she's targeting my bishop, but one, it's defended. Two, I feel like that trade-off is advantageous for me. It just gets my knight closer to her queen side and all of her pawns there. I think it's better for me. So I play b5, just rolling pawns down the king side or queen side. She trades off. I capture back with the knight. She plays a3. I go back. I go to e6 with my knight. She goes b3. Here I castle. She plays a4 here. Perfectly normal, just trying to chip away at my pawn chain. At this point, eval's giving like negative 2.2 in favor of black. But right around here, like I knew I had an advantage, but I didn't think it was that good. Like I knew, like just because my pawn structure is better, I feel like my pieces, well, right now they're a little bit passive. I feel like I have more potential with mine. Her knight's not getting anywhere. Her bishop's not doing anything. My knights are ready to jump into the game at any moment. But I play b4, just kicking her knight away. She targets it, puts it on a2 to target that pawn again. I defend it with a5. Here she plays an interesting move. And this was something that, typically you would want to call like arbiter or ref for, because she tried to play en passant. And if you look at this position, you have to wonder, well, how did she think that she could do that? She played, her move was c4, which is a perfectly legal move, but what she did after that was, pawn to c4, pawn on b4 vanishes. Like, she just grabbed it to pick it up, and I'm like, hey, that's not how that works. And she's like, well, my dad said this is a special move. I'm like, that's not that works. And she conceded. She was like, okay, whatever. But she puts her bishop on c4. Makes sense. Well, there's a lot of weaknesses over here that, she definitely should have been attending to. And that's what I saw. I'm like, okay, well, here's just a free pawn, right? So she goes to defend it on bishop e2. You can't... The pawns got forked. One of them's going to get captured. She defends the pawn on f2 with her king. I guess the idea was that eventually she was going to kick my knight out with her rook, and she didn't want to leave it undefended, the pawn undefended. So I move my knight back, trying to get it back to the center, get it to the queen side, and keep doing stuff over there. She plays c3, trying to trade off pawns. I don't let her. I play c5. She takes. I recapture. She goes there to target my knight. I play that. She targets my knight again. And here, you look at the eval, and it's reading negative 7.6. And I saw the tactic, and it ended up working out. Just 95 or 90 knight d4. Sorry. It targets the pawn there, and you got a nice fork on c2 if she doesn't respond correctly, and she doesn't. She defends the pawn on f3, and I get the fork, get the rook. She tries to target the pawn on e5, and this is where putting the knight on e7 paid off a little bit, because I was able to put it on g6 to defend the pawn on e5. She tries to go after the f pawn with her bishop and her rook. It's over defended, but my idea was that I wanted to get my king out of the pin by moving it to h8, so I was going to go ahead and defend the pawn there. That way I could push it to f6. She moves her rook again. Doesn't really seem like she had a plan. I move my king out of the way to remove the pin. She tries to target the pawn again, and here I start noticing like her king is like super weak. And I had saw this a few moves back, but I thought it was premature, and I wanted to build up for it. But here, I saw an actual combination where, I played f6 first. She moved her rook. I check, and the idea was that when she moved her king to c1, I would put my rook on c7, pinning the bishop to the king, and she moves her king to try to target the knight. Rook to the back rank, check. She moves it to b2. Here I play knight f4, hitting the rook, and I'm setting up another really nasty tactic. I'm planning to sacrifice my rook for the bishop, because then after, if she recaptures with the b pawn, then I just have knight d4 or knight d3 mate. Here she played a pretty funny move, but I let it slide. She moved her rook to h1, and she realized it before she let go of the piece, but instead moved it to h2, which still is mate in 6, and here sack the rook. She recaptures and it's a mate. All in all, she played really solidly. Just a few inaccuracies and some tunnel vision, and just not seeing a couple moves in advance what I wanted out of the position. And, it was a good game. I wouldn't say I was proud of this win. It was it wasn't anything too difficult. I don't like beating up kids. Um, my second game though was a lot more interesting. I'm playing white in this game. I'm playing against someone named Danny, who is about 1,000 something UFCF rating. And again, I didn't know this going into the game. I only found out afterwards. But this time I wanted to try a little bit of preparation that I had studied beforehand. Not before the tournament, but a while back. I've been studying the Queen's Gambit every now and again, or just like Queen's Pawns positions in general. So I played d4, and he plays knight f6. I already know where this is going. Like it's a King's Indian. I play c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g6, knight f3. Here he plays e6, which if you know anything about these kind of positions, that's probably not the best idea. It's not a problem yet. Eventually he should have put his pawn on d6, because here, I play e4, planning to push e5, and he ignores it. He castles, and this is brutal. I mean, Engine's already giving it. Well, hold on, eval's not even on right now. Hold on, turn that off. Turn that one on. Yeah, it's essentially +2. The only move is 98, and in this position, white's for choice here on what to do. I sat here for a while because I have a bad tendency of not wanting to launch an actual attack. Like I am a very reserved player where I make small, like, improving moves, but I kind of sometimes I let my opponents get aggressive. Engine here, or the lead chess engine, is saying to go bishop g5, and I considered it, but I didn't see the follow-up if he went f6. And I sat here maybe between 5 and 10 minutes, debating on what to play. And my main consideration was to play h4. But I know how risky that can be sometimes, so I was just thinking about it, like evaluating, the different lines that could come out of it. Eventually, I decided just to play it. I was like, okay, like this is obviously the best move, like it's gotta be. And like Engine doesn't say it here, but if you put it on Stockfish 14 and run it at a higher depth, then it'll say that h4 is the better move. And I play h4. Plan is simple, just launch pawns at his king, break it apart, because I mean the light square diagonal here is like super weak. There's potential of trading off the pawn to open up the rook, get the queen in, get the knight in. I mean, it's already not good. Like Engine says it's plus 1.8 in white's favor. I would say, like, in practical play, that's kind of an understatement. I feel like white is a lot better in this position just because of how passive black is here. Of course, there are ways out of it, and I misplayed a little bit. He plays h6. Engine thinks I ought to follow it up with h5. I don't. I play g4, which is, it's still a good position, but it loses a lot of the advantage. He plays d6, and I see what he's trying to go for. He's trying to get a queen trade out of this, because if he can get the queens traded off, his position's practically fine. There's not a chance of him getting mated, or at least not this early on if he can get a queen trade. But Engine says h5 is the best move, and that I saw that because I wanted to weaken that light square diagonal, and that's what I did. He pushes his pawn, and I found I was considering bishop g5 here. Bishop takes g5. But I didn't see the follow up, right? Because like if takes, and I saw that you would push, go back, push here. I didn't really see the follow up. I didn't see rook h5, which is the best move, but it's hard to see. 5 moves back, or about 5 moves back, 3 moves back actually. I played queen c2. I'm prepping the sacrifice on g5 because I see it's there. I know it's a good move, but I don't think I thought it was premature to just do it right away. So queen c2, just getting that light square diagonal lined up. At this point, it doesn't seem like he's paying attention to what I'm doing. So I sacked the knight, and I stopped here and considered like which piece I should sack with. Engine thinks that the bishop is best. I was thinking that the knight is the best to start with because it threatens immediate mate, so like he's essentially forced to take. Then I push, and I knew like in this position it would be best to sack the bishop, and it's even material, but black's position isn't great. Really, it would probably end up something like this. I was seeing a line. Maybe I did see rook here, rook h5. I can't remember. But needless to say, he completely ignored the knight sack, like just entirely. Played bishop b7 and just mate. That was it. Game 1. I was proud of that tactic because it's pretty decent. Knight sacked for checkmate. Because I sat there and I was like audibly like calculating, and he could hear me, but I was like whispering or whatever. I was like, he goes here and I do that, I thought it was a good tactic. Anyways, on game 3, so I'm two for 2 right now. I'm ecstatic. I am in a great mood. However, I looked at the standings to see, what the current standings were, what everyone's score was. The only other people, because I was playing in the reserve section. I'm not an incredibly high-rated player. Like my UFCF rating is like 638, which isn't entirely representative of the level that I play at. But it is what it is. That is my rating. But I played reserved because I feel like because it was 1400 and under, and I don't feel like I can compete above 1400. At least not long format games, maybe short format games. Anyways, I don't even remember where I was getting at with that. I was playing in the reserve section, and at this point, I see the standings, and the only people who have the same score as me are people who are above my rating. Like the reserve section was split into under 1400 and then under 1000. The only other people who were 2 for 2 were people who were playing in the under 1400 but not the under 1000 section. But because that's all the reserve section, I have to play up against the higher rated players. The next person that I go up against, this time I made the mistake of looking at his rating before playing him, and I'll go ahead and open up the tab. This guy's name was Andrew Yang. No relation, apparently. He was a younger kid. I think he was like a teenager or something. But he was rated 1238, and that kind of put me on edge. Like, I didn't expect to win this game. I hoped to draw it. I hoped to win, but realistically, I was hoping to draw. This one I was a little disappointed in. He plays d4, and I kind of read the guy to try to figure out, okay, what is he gonna play? Like, is he a Queen's Gambit? Is he gonna play London? And Like, he looked like a fucking square to me, so I'm like, he's gonna play London. So I play d5. I'm like, fuck it, I'll play into it. He hits me with the Queen's Gambit, and like, I've studied it from White's perspective, but I haven't studied it much from Black's. Like, I know some of the mainline stuff. You know, get your knights out to c3 or c6 and f6, bishop out. Usually, you want to try to get your light square bishop out if you can. Dark square bishop, you know, try to control c5, stuff like that. That's kind of the extent of what I know in the Queen's Gambit. I play c6. I don't remember what this is called. This is either the declined or the Slav. I think this is the Slav. I could be wrong about that. I've never played it before. Usually, if I play against the Queen's Gambit, I play e6, but I don't know. I was wanting to try something different. I thought, you know, this is something similar to a Caracal, and that's what I'm used to playing. But I was incredibly wrong. This is a completely different position. But he plays knight c3. I played knight f6. He plays f3, which I thought was a really strange move, but it, like, the engine, wait, is the engine not on? Engine doesn't like it. Like, it's saying that black has an advantage here. If I take the pawn on c4, which I should have done. I don't know why I didn't. I thought about it, and I know that's like what you're supposed to do, but for some reason my brain was just like, I go here with bishop. Which, yeah, definitely was not the best move, because that pretty much just throws away what little edge I had. He goes queen b3. I respond with queen b6, because I sat and I thought about it, but I didn't see any way to try to, like, defend the position. The engine's saying that you can play knight d7 here, but what if he takes? What if he does that? I don't understand. That's even material. I don't. What if that? Okay. Do I just bully the queen? Yeah. Okay. Okay, I kind of get the idea. Anyways, and this is where I definitely shouldn't have looked at his rating beforehand, because I play a really passive move, queen b6. I was just like, sure, let's trade queens. Let's do it. Double my pawns. Perfectly fine. No issue. And that's what he does. Doubles my pawns. Takes on d5. Here I should have taken with the knight. I definitely should have, and I see why I should have. You want to keep your pawns together on the queen side, but I was thinking, try to get more control of the center. At least that's what I was thinking, but I feel like, yeah, in the long run, I guess knight takes would have been better. But I take with the pawn. He attacks my knight. I defend it with the knight on d7. This knight, he moves to b5, and it just gives me a ton of issues throughout the entire game. A majority of this game is just me trying to get my pieces out of a knot. Like, I'm fighting to try to, like, get my pieces in order. I play rook c1, which, by the way, best move. Not to brag, but yeah, engine here says king d8, but if you put it at a higher depth, it says rook c1's definitely the better move. Here I see what he's going for. He's trying to check my king, but besides losing castling rights, it doesn't do much, which in this position, I'm not even planning to castle, right? Because, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it'd be a good idea here. I feel like I want to keep my king more towards this area while I get my pieces out of a knot. Here I play rook c2. In hindsight, probably not a great move. He just puts his rook on c1, and I don't have anything that I can do, because if I take the pawn on b2, he just checkmates me. So I'm like, whatever, let's trade down rooks. Here, Stockfish on Lee Chess is saying e6 is the best move, but at a higher depth, it says that e5 is the better move. I considered it, but I didn't want to go with it. It seemed too risky. I didn't want to have an isolated queen pawn, it just all the troubles that he's giving me, where it feels like I'm being suffocated. Having an isolated queen pawn just felt like a major weakness that I wouldn't have any way of dealing with. So I play e6, just calm, cool, collect, open up the bishop. He starts rolling his pawns down on the queen side. I find a really good move, or at least Engine doesn't say it's good here, but at a higher depth, it's something that it considers. Definitely, it wasn't the best move, but it was definitely up there in terms of good moves. And my idea behind it, maybe it's different from what the Engine wants out of it, but my idea is to control the pawns. If he tries to push him, I feel like it gives me more control over the queen side, seeing as though I've got doubled pawns that are both major weaknesses. I just feel like it adds a little bit more control on that side. He puts his knight on h3. Then we go through this bit where we're just shuffling, knight and bishop back. He plays e5. Just break at the center, and realistically, I should have taken with the d pawn. Why I didn't, I don't know. I guess I was just too stuck on the fact that I just don't have really good development right now, and I want to get my bishop out. And that's what I do. I go bishop e7, which again, not a great move, because then he just pushes h5 or e5, sorry, and now I'm in trouble. Like I have to move my knight to g8. That's not a very pleasant position. He goes knight b5 again. Here, what did I end up playing? I played h5. So my idea was that I want to get my knight back out, but I'm gonna get it out on h6, but I don't want him to double my pawns. Okay, my camera just died. I guess we're fucking finishing this without the camera. Jesus. Okay. Whatever. What a shit show. Okay. So yeah, he I play, like I said, I don't want a double pawn, so I want the knight to be defended if he takes it with the bishop. He gives me a check. I lose castle rights, but wasn't planning on castling. He moves his knight back. I found the best move, surprisingly. My idea was just to reroute the knight, try to get it back into the game. I'm a little proud of that move. And you'll see as the game goes on, I'm slowly, at this point, it's pretty much even now. Whereas before, I think it was as low as -2 on a higher depth. And I'm slowly unwinding the knot that I've been caught in. He goes knight g5, targeting the f pawn, threatening a fork, but luckily the move that I was planning was able to defend that. Bishop d3. I moved my king to d7, which this move was actually the best move that Stockfish recommends at a higher depth. Bishop e3, and obviously, my idea was that I want to get my rook into the open file, and I don't want to castle in this position, so king d7 seemed better. I play f6 to get his knight out. Oh, sorry, I'm tired. Knight f7, just trying to get my get this knight rerouted back to the queen side, since there's nothing going on, on the king side. That was kind of my whole plan to begin with, to reroute it that way. But as you'll see, that knight is pretty much just gets stuck there the rest of the game. He pushes his pawns. I lock things up in the center. He tries to get his knight to the queen side. I start getting my other knight back into the game with knight c6, putting pressure on the d-pawn. He moves his king towards the center. I go rook c8, just getting control over the file, because eventually, I wanted to, Engine says to go ahead and go knight a3 or knight a5, but I thought it was a little premature. I didn't want him to get this much. Well, then again, in hindsight, I could have just, and then yeah, okay. So maybe it was fine to go ahead and move the knight, but I don't think it hurt much. I mean, it gives white a little bit more of an edge. Um, he pushes his pawn on h3. I see what he's going for. He wants the break on g4, but I don't let him have it. Not yet, at least. Sorry. Um, I don't. Well, so he could have went for it, but I don't know why he didn't. He moves his knight there. Knight check. Well, so he moves his knight here, obviously, to protect against the fork. We trade down. And I start. So here, the idea was that I wanted him to take the b pawn. Because if I could get this check in, get this pawn. So yeah, engine says it's minus 4.7. I knew that pawn was a major pawn, and I wanted to go for it. But he saw what I was doing. He didn't want to do that. Obviously, I have to imagine he saw the threat. And he's shuffling his knight around. I go b4, attacking the knight. We trade down. He gets his rook to the open file. I move my rook back. He targets my bishop. I move my bishop back. Check, capture, capture. And at this point in the game, well, even here, I thought that it was going to end up being a draw. But according to engine, white's winning 100%. Here, I considered going g5 just to break up the pawns there. I don't see what. I guess I know the g pawn being pushed to g4 is a major threat to my position. I didn't feel like it was that bad though. Now that the rook's over on the a file, it's gonna cost him an extra tempo to move the rook back to start causing problems on the king side. But yeah, at this point it's lost. But he blunders it and he doesn't find the follow-up. Admittedly, I don't even see what the follow-up is. I guess that's it, yeah. Which he ends up doing that in a couple of moves. I put my rook on the d file. I'm planning to push if he allows it. He checks. For some reason, I didn't want to take that because I was afraid of this. Yeah. But it's still already losing. Yeah, even right there. So, I didn't want to do that because it blunders that. But I was willing to do that, which also blunders that. So I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. I think I was just wore out at this point. My brain was just mashed potatoes after playing chess for 7 hours. Or almost 6. Anyways. And the rest of this is just me, struggling to stay alive. This is his game. He's winning. Slowly but surely, he's getting his pieces in. And eventually, I blunder the knight to this fork. And this is where my notations ended. He went on to promote one of the b pawns to a queen and ended up the move before checkmate. I was like, okay, I resign. I see where this is going. I was holding on to this slim hope that he might stalemate and that it would be a draw because he was really low on time. He had less than a minute left. But he knew what he was doing. It was delay 5, so he had it. He had it in the bag. And as a matter of fact, he ended up sacrificing the rook for the bishop at some point. This game I was very disappointed in. I'm glad that I was able to unwind my pieces, try to get an even position. But all in all, I wasn't very proud of my play here because I ended up blundering that fork and it costed me the entire game. I put so much effort into making sure that, my position, is equal, that it equalizes after a while, but for not. My final game, hold on, let me turn the eval off on this tab. My final game was a short one. At this point, I'm tired. I want to go home. So I was going to go for a quick draw. And that is exactly what goes on. It's just, he tries to play the hippo. This kid, I can't remember his name. I think it was Noland. But he starts playing the hippo. And I make a major mistake right here. I go e5. I knew I wanted to break the pawns. I should have went d5 instead. Well, it's saying I should develop my bishop first. But, here I give black the advantage. Even if I went d4, that's not terribly bad. What if I do that? What if I take on e6? It says black is better, I guess, because it has more control over the center. But I play e5, blundering a pawn. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, we're just going to trade everything down. Like, why not? Like, I'm going to play for a draw. I've messed up the opening, and I just trade stuff down. Any opportunity he gives me to trade something, I trade it, defend the pawn, get my bishop active. He defends on c7. He doubles up. I go rook e1. Trade the bishops. Move the king to f1. Try to trade rooks. All plain and simple. It says black's winning, actually. Yeah, I mean, I kind of knew it was winning for him at this point. I've realized that, like, I'd messed it up a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't have traded off all the pieces. At first, I thought it was a draw. Like, in this position, like, the second we got to this position, I'm like, yeah, this is drawn. I can hold this. But somewhere, like, right here, I thought I was fine. I thought I was fine here. It was here when I realized that it wasn't a draw, that, like, black is playing for a win. Because I knew he had a e5. And in my mind, I knew I needed to take, because I didn't want to give him the pass pawn, or at least not the pass center pawn. I can still try to hold on to something over here. But he pushes that pawn there. I go to h4, just controlling some of the dark squares there. And he goes e5, and I knew I should have taken. I don't know why the engine is saying king e2. It is a dumb move. But what I play is even dumber. I play g3. It's not much more losing. Still losing. He pushes his pawn. Now he has a pass. He's got a passer. This is toast. I'm done. I start shuffling my king back and forth because I know that, like, I have to stay in front of this pawn. I can't go around it because it's going to promote. But then he goes a6. And here, I'm like, oh, okay. A draw. This is actually a draw. He can make no progress. He can't get his king in. This is covered. This is covered. This is covered. This is covered. He can't get in. He goes here. Okay, I go here. Now that's covered. This is covered. This is covered. That's covered. That's covered. And I just shuffle my king back and forth. Here, 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 here. That pawn's not going anywhere. And that's what he does. He goes a6. I go go a4. a6, a4. Sorry. He tries to get his king in. He pushes. But, I knew this was a draw. He trades. Still got control over all the light squares that I need to on the queen side. The dark squares that I need to on the king side. And this is a draw. Like, I know it's a draw. You'll see my next moves are just me shuffling my king back and forth while he tries to break away. And then he realizes it's a draw and eventually resigns. All in all, I'm decently glad with the outcome of this tournament. I've played 4 chess tournaments in total since I've started playing chess. The first one that I played under 600 reserved and got 3.0. out of 4. And then my next 2 tournaments, I fucking like got destroyed. My second tournament, I think I drew 1 game and then lost all the other 3. And then my third tournament, I won a single game, lost the other 2, and then decided to drop out of the tournament. So, seeing as that a year later, I go in and win 2 games, draw 1, lose 1, with 0 preparation, 0 studying, 0 anything. I just showed up to play chess. I'm happy with the outcome. It kind of gave me some perspective in terms of like a future in chess, like in terms of like if I'm going to continue to play competitively or not, because it feels like I've kind of hit a wall. Like I'm not getting better, and mostly because I'm not studying. I don't have the time to anymore. But I think I want to try to get into it, or at least like play more games online, because I still play at the chess club, but you can only learn so much playing over the board at the chess club just for fun, you know. But yeah, those are the games. Really, the highlight of this tournament for me was this sacrifice with the knight. This was by far the best tactic I've probably ever found over the board in a chess game. But yeah, this is the tournament, the Rae Hayes 2023 tournament. These are my games. This is what I think of them. And I guess I'll make more videos if ever play another tournament, which I should. Hopefully it's before next year, because they hold this tournament once a year. Because I renewed my UFCF membership last night, and I kind of want to get into a couple more tournaments if there are any nearby. But anyways, yeah, later.